Hari Om. Gently close your eyes. Your fingers interlaced and placed in front. Your back, neck and head erect. Your breathing is normal. Next, attend to your mind. If any thoughts come in, gently dismiss them. Be aware of your breathing. We will chant the mantra Om followed by the invocatory prayer. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu mavit vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti. We will chant 10 shlokas from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, verses 1 to 10, please. Chapter 5, verses 1 to 10, please. Arjuna uvacha Sannyasam karmanam Krishna Punaryogam cha samsasi Yat shreya etayorekam Tanme bruhi sunishchitam. Shri Bhagavanu vacha Sannyasa karma yogascha Nishreyasakara ubhau Tayostu karma sannyasat Karma yogo vishishyate Nyeyasa nitya sannyasi Yo nadveshti na kankshati Nirdvandvo hi mahabaho Sukham bandhat pramuchyate Sankhya yoga prutak balaha Pravadanti na panditaha Ekamapyastita samyak Ubhayor vindate phalam Sankhya yoga prutak I am chanting the same shloka again. Shloka number 5. Yat sankhya prapyate sthanam tad yogairapi gamyate ekam sankyam cha yogam cha ya pashyati sa pashyate sanyasastu mahabaho dukkhamaptumayogataha yoga yukto munir brahma nachirena dhigacchate yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriyaha sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvannapi na lipyate naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavid pashyan shrinvan sprishan jigran ashnan gachan swapan shvasan pralapan visrijan grinnan unmishan nimishannapi indriyanindriyartheshu vartanta iti dharayan brahman yadhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyate na sa papena padmapatramivambhasa. Role of intellect. Last session we were talking about sattvic, rajasic and tamasic intellect. Sattvic, rajasic and tamasic means sattvic means purity, rajasic means action, pure action and laziness, lazy. Tamasic means lazy. A human being is composed of three qualities, gunas. Every human being is made up of these three gunas, except the self-realized individuals, self-realized Mahatmas. We find variety of heterogeneous variety of human beings. This heterogeneous variety of human beings is because of the different permutation and combination of sattvic, rajasic and tamasic qualities in a person. You would have heard people calling a sattvic person a rajasic person or a tamasic person. When these three qualities are in different proportion, then mathematically we can say this: when sattva is purity in a person, when a person is pure internally and externally. Externally, of course, everyone can be pure by taking bath. But as we take bath and come outside the bathing area, and then we put on our dress, and then I don't know whether it's immediately or after some time, then germs in the form of bacteria start accumulating in our body. So we can say that is dirt. So what I'm talking about here is, when we're talking about a person is pure, then we're talking about the person is pure at the subtle levels, the inner personality level, the mind and intellect is pure. Therefore, the external personality, the actions, the speech, the word, deeds, they are pure. Meaning, when a person is sattvic, then we said a human being is made up of sattvic, rajasic and tamasic gunas, qualities. Then whom do we say call a sattvic person? When the proportion of sattva is more, the proportion of rajas and tamas is less. Whereas this sattva, rajas and tamas should be equal to 100%. I know what you will be thinking. If mathematically, if 33.3% of sattva and 33.3% of rajas and 33.3% of tamas, then what happens? We'll talk about that later. Now, predominantly sattvic, predominantly rajasic, predominantly tamasic qualities are being discussed now. So, a sattvic person is one whose sattva is more in number, the proportion of sattva is more in number, then rajas and tamas are less in number. But this aggregate equals 100%. Such a person whose sattva is very pure, very high, meaning the very nature of the person is very pure. Here I would like to bring in the term vasana. Vasana means the stuff a person is made up of. Vasana is a Sanskrit term derived from the root vas, V-A-S. Vasana is spelled as V-A-S-A-N-A. It's a Sanskrit term which cannot be defined because we're talking about definition at the thought level with the help of intellect. Since vasana is the source of intellect, vasana is indefinable. Hence, for practical purposes, vasana can be termed as the innate urge, aptitude, tendency of a person, the nature of a person. Vasana of sun is light, heat. Vasana of sugar, nature of sugar is sweetness. Vasana of tiger, nature of tiger is aggressiveness. Vasana of a cow, passivity or being calm, passive nature. Nature of a tree, we can't say a vasana of a tree. I haven't heard people saying that. Nature of a particular tree yielding particular fruit. Nature doesn't change. The quality may change. The quality of bananas grown in maybe Sri Lanka, the quality grown in India, maybe elsewhere, may be different. But the nature, I mean, you will not find, the banana plant or a tree yielding mangoes. How it is possible? It cannot change. Then we can say vasana of a human being. Is it not? So we say a person has philosophical vasanas, another person has business vasanas, another person has political vasanas, sports vasanas, cheating vasanas, etc. So, to come back here, a sattvic person is a one who has purity, an embodiment of purity. A person is active but is objective. So here the qualities of sattva has to be talked about. A person is calm, composed, serene, tranquil, objective, maintains sakshi bhava. Sakshi means a witness. Does not get attached, does not get agitated. So these are, certain qualities, predominant qualities of a sattvic person. Subtle intellect is well developed, well grounded in values. Whatever field of activity a person has chosen, in that field of activity, a person is active, not result oriented. What is to be done, what ought to be done, a person does it without getting attached, without claiming that I have done this, etc. These are the qualities of a sattvic person. A rajasic person, action is predominant. Then we say that the proportion of sattva and rajas reduces. In rajasic person, the proportion of sattva and tamas is reduced. Rajas is predominant. Nature of rajas, active. Here we can say as against the action performed by a sattvic person. Here a person is passionate, hyperactive. Swami Parsarthi, Swamiji always used to say, a rajasic person runs like a chicken without a head. Action, action, action. Caught up in action. I am the doer attitude. Egoistic. Competitive. Ruthless. Jack of all trades, master of none. Result oriented. Attached. Stressed. These are typical nature of rajas. Then we're talking about tamasic, lazy, inertia. There's no action. Swamiji used to use the word indolent. Indisposed to activity. That doesn't mean a person is in ICU, not that. A sattvic person also can be in ICU. Whereas here the person is inactive, sleep. Action is performed by the physical body. It is the mind which is propelling the physical action. We are going subtler, from the gross realms to subtler realms. Action is performed by the physical body. The physical body by itself cannot perform action. Then it is either the mind or the intellect. The inner personality is propelling the physical action. Then the source of mind and intellect is, there has to be some source. It cannot be Atman. The word is given as vasana. Therefore we said vasana is indescribable, indefinable. Hence we said a person at the physical level, a person is in politics. Then we say a person has political vasanas. A person is in business. Entire family is doing business. Then we say he or she has business vasanas. Entire family is into sports. Then we say he or she has sporting vasanas. Philosophical vasanas. The both positive side and the negative side. Cheating, etc. So the reason why I am bringing in this particular sattvic, rajasic and tamasic qualities here, because we wanted to discuss that intellect is also of three types. Sattvic intellect, rajasic intellect and tamasic intellect. We would like to chant 3 shlokas from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18 of the Bhagavad Gita, shloka number 30, 31 and 32, defining what a sattvic, rajasic and tamasic intellect is. Chapter 18, shloka, verse number 30 is defining sattvic intellect. Verse 31 is explaining rajasic intellect, and verse 32 is explaining tamasic intellect. So we will chant verse number 30. Chapter 18, verse 30. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha karya karye bhaya bhaye bandham moksham cha yavethi buddhi sa partha satviki. I am reading a translation from Swami Parthasarathhi's commentary. The intellect which knows activity and renunciation, pravrittim, activity, nivrittim, renunciation. What ought to be done and what ought not. Karya karye means what ought to be done and what ought not to be done. Bhaya bhaye, fear and fearlessness. Bandham moksham. Bandham means bondage, moksha means liberation, cha means and. Then he's saying here that O Partha is sattvika, means the intellect which knows activity and renunciation, number one. Number two, what ought to be done and what ought not. Number three, fear and fearlessness. Number four, bondage and liberation. That intellect which knows clearly what is action and what is renunciation. In this context, action and renunciation mean the word used is pravrittim and nivrittim. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, Karma Yoga, there Lord Krishna is talking about, two words. He is talking about a field of activity a person has to choose. Swadharma and Paradharma. Dharma means nature, Swa means one's own. So what is one's nature? In that, a person should choose an activity which is in accordance with one's nature. That is what activity here is. And renunciation. A person should stay away from a field of activity. A person should renounce the field of activity which is alien to one's nature, paradharma. Swadharma of Roger Federer is to play tennis. Imagine if Roger Federer has taken up to cricket. He may have friends, those who are playing cricket. It would have been a disaster. Sachin Tendulkar playing chess. We can't imagine such situations. Predominant activity, that very urge a person has, right from childhood, a person, we are talking about child prodigies here. Given an opportunity, they naturally gravitate towards such field of activity. It can be sports, it can be business, it can be politics, it can be studies, a person doing research, any field of activity, dance, music, teaching, it can be anything. So, that here the sattvic intellect knows which field of activity should be chosen and which field of activity should be renounced. Stay away. A person was working in health department. Couple of children, they were all studying. Suddenly, the person passed away. Some ailment, the person passed away. Because of humanitarian grounds, the dependent, the eldest daughter, who has completed graduation, was given a job in the government department, in the health ministry, health department. She was very intelligent, and joined. Father was the head of the department, so this the lady here cannot be given the head of the department post just because she is the daughter of so and so person. She was given maybe an officer post or something like that, managerial post, but she steadily rose in hierarchy and now occupying good position, good status, married, couple of children, but extremely agitated. Though she is productive in her workplace and all that, but from her own admittance, she's not happy. Some problem or the other is going on in the family, then many challenges. Then one fine day, she was talking to me, and she was saying, from childhood I had that interest for teaching. Then I could understand how this beautifully, the vasanas work here, Swadharma and Paradharma. Her Swadharma is to teach, but she is in Paradharmic field, alien field. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna beautifully says, Swadharme Nidanam Shreyaha. A person will attain, goodness, or, it is better to die in Swadharma. Though choosing a Swadharmic field, a field of activity which is close to one's heart, that field of activity may not fetch us monetary benefits. Most of us, we choose the field of activity based on monetary benefits. Because of humanitarian grounds, the family has to meet both ends. Father is no more. Therefore, this lady chose that field. She could have rejected that particular offer. No, I'm sorry, I will not take up this post. Let me study further and then I want to take up to teaching. She could have said that, but she didn't do that. She chose a paradharmic field and ended up unhappy. Now, having spent 20 years in that department, now she is in a position where she's not able to quit that job and then get back. So that's the fix here, the catch-22 situation. Most of us go through this. We think that problem what the person faces is because of external problems, but it is not so. It is internal. We try to link all the problems that we are going through is because of external problem. But all the problems in the world, all the crisis in the world is internal. It is not external. And that is what beautifully is talked about here. That intellect which is able to distinguish, know clearly activity and renunciation, what ought to be done and what ought not, having chosen the field of activity. In that field of activity, perform your action based on your discrimination, not on likes and dislikes of the mind. There is a little confusion here, but there is no confusion. Apparently there is confusion, but once you understand this shloka, there is no confusion. Choose your field of activity based on your liking, predominant liking. Having chosen the field of activity based on your predominant liking, do not act on your likes and dislikes. Act as per your Buddhi, intellect. And that's what that second line is. Karya karye, what ought to be done and what ought not to be done. A sattvic intellect knows what field of activity to be chosen and what is to be renounced. Having chosen the field of activity, a person should act on reason and not on the whims and fancies of the mind. To be or not to be, that is the question. Most of our actions are, propelled by the mind. Sometimes it is detrimental, sometimes it is fatal. Perform your action based on your choice, not based on your chance. That intellect which knows what is fear and what is fearlessness. Bhaya, fear. Fools rush in where angels fear to tread. Fools rush in where? Into materiality and sensual enjoyment. So that person who has a sattvic intellect, here the buddhi, the intellect is very powerful. We can, in fact, in I think one or two discussions, we were talking about the difference between intellect and intelligence. Even that intelligent person rush into materiality and sensuality, and that is exactly what we are talking about here. A sattvic intellect understands the area of materiality and sensuality, and understand that it is going to bring in sorrow. In the Bhajagovindam, Shankara beautifully talks about Nari's Tanabara Nabi Desham. Why do you fall a prey by seeing at the navel of the woman? Nari. That doesn't mean woman is demeaning. No. He's talking about he's exaggerating to a point of fault of that sensual desires, materiality and sensuality. And that is what the sum and substance of Bhajagovindam is. And here we can connect it by saying most of us, we fall a prey to that materiality. Materiality means those who are running after wealth. We think that materiality or sensuality is the be all and end all of life. Fear here, what it means is that sattvic intellect guides a person that he should be cautious, be careful in the area of materiality and sensuality. That doesn't mean a sattvic person need not be, will not get married at all. He will not have family. He will become a recluse. He will not have a vehicle of his own. He will go walking, wherever he wants to go. That is not what is being discussed here. That is not what is being taught here. That is very poor understanding. The person, may have objects and beings around, maybe amidst objects and beings around, but understand the futility of those materiality and sensuality of what that object can bring about. So is cautious of those materiality and sensuality. So a sattvic intellect clearly guides a person. And this is, we can talk about a tortoise. Takes its steps very slowly. cautiously. And whenever it comes, comes to know that some danger is there, slowly it pulls in all the, protrusions, the legs, the head, the tail, under a hard shell. Same way, here is a person whose sattvic intellect, the intellect is very clear, clarity is there, is very powerful, is clearly suggesting this is an area where you have to be cautious. We can bring in a little different meaning here. In areas of ignorance, a sattvic person surrender to a person who is knowledgeable in that field, does not rush in areas of ignorance. And that's what a knowledgeable person is. Fools rush in. You want to invest money in some stock exchange, you may not be well versed. It's an area of ignorance. What do? Seek wise counsel. That doesn't mean you don't make money. And that's exactly what he's talking about here. Fear and fearlessness. Fearless, where the sattvic person is fearless, in the area of, the transcendental. Fools have no knowledge about. The ignorance have no knowledge. They are, they are having that fear to know about that unknown. And in that area, a sattvic person is fearless. See how beautifully it is explained here. And then he is talking about bandham and moksham, bondage and liberation. When a person perform an action, be it a gross action or a subtle action, with attachment, with selfishness, then there is bondage. Action being the same, when one action binds a person, another action liberates a person. What sort of action binds a person? A selfish action. The intention behind the action is selfish. That binds a person. The intention behind an action is unselfish or selfless, and that liberates a person. A tiger picks up, the cubs. The tigress picks up the cub. How the tigress, is moving those cubs from one place to other place. It is holding, with her mouth. It is not that, is lifting the cub with the two, legs. Like how you and me carry a child. No. With the same mouth. The teeth are touching the cubs, the neck portion. How beautifully it carries. The same teeth are being used, the same mouth is being used to tear open a bison or a deer or a zebra. A doctor is performing an operation. Operation may be gruesome, cutting open a stomach or a chest. But what is the intention behind that action? A terrorist is picking up an automatic and killing people. A police or an army officer is also having an automatic and shooting. Action being the same, the intention is different. One person is killing other person with a selfish intention. The other one is having a selfless intention or an unselfish intention. Any action done with a selfish intention, even in a study of Vedanta also, only the field is subtler, that's about all. So you are conducting classes. This is my class. You may be conducting class on Upanishad, Mandakya Upanishad or Krishna Upanishad, but you are so caught up, bound, attached. My disciples, my class is greater than others' class. My center versus your center. My ashram versus your ashram. My guru versus your guru. A fellow is begging outside in the same ashram, sitting outside, at the entrance, and he is taking care of the chapels there. The person is sitting outside and the other person is sitting inside and then chanting Upanishad. This fellow is bound. The fellow who is chanting or learning Upanishad is bound, and the person who is sitting outside is a liberated person. God has given me this body. He is having that understanding. The beggar. God has given me this physical body. This physical body is begging here. For whom? I am not begging for myself. Indirectly, apparently, it is for the stomach. I am taking care of the chapel. Because you have ordered me, my master, myself, Atman, Brahman has ordered me to perform this action. For your sake, I am performing this action. So there is no I, there is no my. There is no ahankar, that I am conducting, I am taking care of the chapel stand here. There is no ahankar, there is no ego. And that person is liberated. And the person here conducting Upanishad class for ages is bound. O Partha, that person whose intellect is sattvic. Whose intellect is sattvic? An intellect which knows activity and renunciation, what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, fear and fearlessness, bondage and liberation, that, O Partha, is sattvika. In the next session, we will discuss about the Rajasic